conversation you had with Sydney about her parents' gun. Now, she knew that they owned a gun, isn't that right?
That is correct.
And she also told you that she said the combination was in the file drawer in their bedroom, or in their office, isn't that right?
Yes, like I said, she took me to it and pointed to that drawer I just had.
But you never told Andy Park about this conversation, did you?
No, I never told Andy Park about the conversation.
So you never let Andy Park know that her daughter might know what the combination was?
Well, no, because she knew, well, Andy didn't want me to know the combination. So because his daughter knew, I just assumed that they had that conversation already. So I didn't feel it was necessary for me to do it, no.
Now, you said that Jessie Duran played with Sydney a lot when you were watching her, isn't that right?
Yeah, they were really like two peas in the pod.
But in fact, you classify Jessie as somewhat of a bully, wouldn't you?
Somewhat, but not because she like physically hit or abused Sydney or anything like that. Jessie's personality was more dominant than Sydney. When they would interact with each other, Jessie was the more, let's do this, versus Sydney, what do you want to do, Jessie? So she kind of...
But sometimes if Jessie didn't get her way, Jessie didn't react very well, did she?
Well, she act like a normal kid would when they don't get their way, want to throw a fit, but you know, it didn't take long for Fat Daddy to nip that in the bud, you know.
Now, you talked to Hayden Duran about this, I guess, over-aggressive and bullying behavior, didn't you?
Objection, Your Honor. Mischaracterization of the witness's testimony. The witness never said Jessie was over-aggressive, and the attorney just classified his testimony as such. And I ask that that question be stricken from the record.
Your Honor, the witness has previously conceded that he would classify Jessie as a dominant personality type and somewhat of a bully. I used a synonym instead of dominant, but I don't feel that I've misclassified the witness's testimony. I was really rephrasing what he said in previous answers.
Your Honor, I just ask that the opposing counsel phrase the witness's testimony as it was given and not paraphrasing his own words.
If counsel certainly objects, I'd be happy to change aggressive to dominant, but beyond that,
Rephrase.
I'd be happy to hear on that. So, did you talk to Hayden Duran about this dominant and bullying behavior of Jessie, didn't you?
I was actually able to speak with both Hayden Duran and Andy Park about the behavior and the interaction between the two children.
Now, when you spoke to Hayden Duran, Hayden didn't seem very concerned, did he?
Again, she said, you know, they're just being kids, doing what normal kids do, that it was harmless.
And when you spoke to Andy Park, you told her about all the behavior you'd observed, isn't that right?
Yeah, and Andy agreed that Jessie could be a little aggressive at times, but thought that playing with Jessie was the best thing for Sydney because she was such a quiet child.
Now, you testified earlier that you never observed any violent behavior from Jessie when he was under your supervision, or when she was under your supervision, isn't that right?
That's true.
So that means when you had conversations with Andy Park, you never told Andy Park about any violent behavior of Jessie because you never saw him.
Yeah, like I said, Jessie never displayed violent behavior. In fact, it was actually the reverse. It was, you know, the one physical altercation that the children had, it was Sydney pushing Jessie instead.
Now, I'd like to move to a specific instance on the day of August 17th. Now, on that day, Jessie expressed interest in seeing the gun, didn't he?
August 17th?
Yes.
Yes, Jessie did express interest in seeing the Park's gun, and that's why I sat Jessie down and explained to her how dangerous guns can be, and I told her not to go near the safe or the gun, or she would be, you know, in trouble, timeout, video games taken, no outside. She might even lose her snack, which is good for me. So.
Right, and Jessie didn't react well with you saying this. In fact, she started screaming, "I want the gun," didn't she?
That was before the conversation. The screaming is what led to me to talk to her about how dangerous guns were.
But nonetheless, she was screaming, "I want the gun," very emphatically, wasn't she?
She was, and that's why I sat her down and tried to teach her the importance of gun safety, the best that I do.
And as you stated earlier, you made a good policy of communicating with the parents. So in fact, you told Hayden Duran about this incident that night, didn't you?
I did tell Hayden Duran when she picked Jessie up from the Park's home that day. I informed her.
But you never got a chance to tell the Parks, did you?
Unfortunately, I did not. While I was waiting on Mr. Park to get home from work, I got a phone call about a family emergency. So when he came home, I told him that I had to get back to my house because it was a situation that I needed to be there for to handle. So that day I did not get a chance to tell Mr. Park.
So by the morning of August 18th, the only parent that you had a chance to talk to about Jesse's interest and fascination with this gun was Hayden Durant.
No, yes, the Parks, gun, yes.
Yes. No further questions, Your Honor.
Okay.